Hello, I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. In this millennial generation era, with its self-absorbed selfie Facebook culture, it's easy to lose sight of the value of a mature artistic vision. But one place where it hasn't been forgotten is at the Carter Burden Gallery, a unique nonprofit exhibition space in Chelsea that's dedicated to showcasing the work of artists 60 years old and over. Now in its 6th year of operation, the gallery not only provides a place where their work can be seen, it provides them with a community of artists and a network for social and professional engagement. To tell us about this unique venture, my guests today are Marlena Vaccaro, artistic director and curator of the gallery, and photographer Sara Petitt, one of its contributing artists. Welcome.
Thank you.
So how long has the gallery been in operation and how did it come to be?
The gallery's been in operation. We're in our 6th year, as you said. It basically parallels the mission and concept of the Carter Burden Center, which is to give older people a voice, and in this case, give older artists a wall to exhibit their work.
Now, Carter Burden was a progressive city council member.
Yes.
He was an art collector. He was wealthy. He was a major philanthropist.
Yes.
Did he start the gallery, or why this concept for him?
Carter Burden began and founded the agency, but the gallery was founded almost 6 years ago, with Susan Burden being a big part of that, and Susan was Carter's wife.
Okay. Now, did he provide any seed money for the gallery? Is there a financial connection, or?
To the agency, to the Carter Burden Center, absolutely. The board of directors and the agency, in large part, does support the gallery with some private and public funding.
Mm-hmm. Now, was Carter Burden an artist himself?
I don't believe he was, but his father was a photographer.
Okay.
And interestingly, his father was quite involved with Aperture magazine for many years. Our gallery is right on top of Aperture magazine in the building we're in.
Okay.
So I think it was a karmic relationship.
Okay. So the gallery is it's a nonprofit.
Yes.
How does it get its money to operate?
Again, the Carter Burden Center for the Aging does support it in large part, as do we have some DCA money. Department of Cultural Affairs has been very generous. The Ford Foundation. Our major sponsor at this point is the McCarthy Group, which is an Australian investment banking company, and they have been a huge supporter of the last several years.
Okay. Now, I know your website also calls it a place for re-emerging artists. What's that about?
Well, I think so many people are always looking at the emerging younger artist and everybody wanting to get the next best new thing. And in our case, we realized, having been in the arts my whole life as well, that there were thousands of artists in New York that had been working for 30, 40, 50 years in many cases and didn't need to emerge. They had emerged, and some of them had wonderful careers in the 60s and 70s. But because of age and a certain ageism that permeates everything we do, they needed to re-emerge again and to sort of come back and get in the game again.
Okay. I actually visited the gallery a few weeks ago, and the exhibits it was a great concept. The exhibits are very simple, maybe sort of like a half dozen to a dozen pieces by each artist, and you have, I guess you call them catalogs that give you a biography and identify the pieces. While I was there, an art teacher and his students from Pittsburgh were visiting the gallery. So how many shows a year?
We do about 9 or 10 major shows a year. Each show is 3 weeks. We have about 10 down days in between, so when we can, we do short special exhibits in those 2 or 3 days that we can squeeze them in.
And who gets to exhibit at the gallery?
Again, we're looking to show older professional artists over 60 years old. So these are people who have been working their whole lives, and many of them have made a living from the work they've been producing, and many of them have had to have other jobs like so many artists have to do. We get about 100 submissions a month via our website, and we go through the process that any other gallery goes to. Our protocols are the same. We're looking for excellent, innovative, current, vital, vibrant work. We show current work. We do not show work that's older than 3 years.
Okay. And how many artists have you shown since you operated?
Yeah, I think in the last 5 years, going into our 6th, we've shown about 150 different artists in solo and group shows.
Okay. presumably your goal is to sell paintings.
Absolutely.
So when a piece of artwork, well, not just paintings, but you do photography.
Right.
I assume you do sculpture as well.
We do.
And when pieces are sold, does the gallery get a commission on the sale?
Yes, like every gallery, there's a split between the artist and the gallery. We get 40%, the artist gets 60%.
Okay. Now, Sara, you're a photographer. Tell me about your work, how long you've been doing it, and how you found out about the gallery.
Well, I found out about, I've been an artist all my life, and I made a living for many, many years as a commercial textile designer. I found out about the gallery quite by accident. A friend of mine had read an article in the Times saying that a new gallery for older artists had opened, and why don't I go up there? And I went up, I met Marlena. It was in a very tiny space, and it had a different name. It was called 307, which was the address of the building. And I told Marlena she'd like to look at my work. I'd be happy to show it to her, which she did. She came over, saw my work. I told her I was going on a trip to Cuba. And that was about 6 years ago when it was still hard for tourists to get over there. And she said, show me your work when you get back from the trip. And that was when I had my first show at the gallery, one-person show. And Marlena really had a dream because this gallery was up, I think it was on the 14th floor,
yes.
And in a tiny commercial office building, and Marlena just saw greater possibilities for it. And now we're in the heart of Chelsea. It's competitive. The space is competitive with any commercial gallery there. And it's really a miracle that this happened because it's a very competitive art world.
Now, you've had several shows?
Yes.
There?
Yeah. And I've been part of group shows.
Okay. How did having your work exhibited there, what has that experience meant to you?
It's been an incredible experience because I've shown in other galleries. I've been part of co-op galleries. I've been selected in juried shows by curators from museums. What the Carter Burden Gallery does is create not just a space to show your work, but it creates a community. It's a community where artists really, truly care about each other. They're encouraging, they're supportive, and the gallery will allow you to try different venues. I curated a photography show there, which was an incredible experience, and the gallery took on two of the artists, permanently, and it was like giving birth. These people had careers before, I found them, but the idea of them being part of the gallery now is a marvelous thing to see.
I would imagine that for probably all artists, as well as artists who are over 60, that finding, getting a show is a hard thing to do. It's something that you're probably constantly looking for.
Difficult. I have working towards a master's in gallery management. One of the papers that I wrote was kind of an oral paper where I asked other people in my class who were quite young, if you come to New York from out of town, how do you get your work shown? And they broke up into little groups, and they all came up with the same answer: go to the right bars. Now,
oh, really?
This is obviously not something you're going to do if you're in your 60s or 70s or older. And I go to art fairs, and people will pick up a piece of work and say, this is very interesting. And the next question they say to the gallerist is, they ask the gallerist, how old is the artist? And that is of prime importance now because artwork is a commodity. It's not like the 50s when de Kooning got discovered later on in life. You have your first show when you're in your 20s, and if it doesn't sell after 2 or 3 shows, that's it. You're gone. And this gallery provides a place for people who have worked all their lives as professional artists, and for one reason or another, perhaps they did show in commercial galleries and no longer show in them. Maybe they had other things that they were involved with, like earning a living, and this wasn't their primary source of income. And this provides a space for them, a space and a community.
Now, when somebody asks the question, how old is the artist who did this? I mean, if it's an older artist, that mean that they're more likely to be interested in it or less interested in it?
Much less interest.
Really? They're looking
Absolutely.
for the next new thing, the next new artist?
They buy it as an investment. If they get you when you're 23, 24, they hope that you're going to become famous. And if you say you're 60 or 70, that is definitely a turnoff in terms of buying as an investment for many people.
Okay. Now, tell me about some relationships you developed with artists or whomever through the gallery.
Well, I've made friends through the gallery. I will travel, if somebody has a show in Connecticut, I'll go there to see it. The gallery is very open about wanting artists to show in other venues aside from the gallery. This is our, New York home, but if we have an opportunity somewhere else, then we're encouraged to do that. And the people who come there are not self-congratulatory. They're professional artists who appreciate the value of each other's work.
Okay. Marlena, tell me about some of the other artists who you have shown.
Well, we have shown artists, the youngest being 60, the oldest being 97. We've shown artists that have never shown before and artists, as Sara said, that have had careers and for various reasons they've waned. We have an artist named Flo Fox who is in a wheelchair. She's been taking photos for...
And partially blind.
She is partially blind. She is a survivor of lung cancer, and she is completely confined to a wheelchair. She has been taking photos for 35 years and still continues to do that after having shown her home attendant how to snap the camera after Flo frames the photo. Mm-hmm. So we have been inspired and just unbelievably uplifted by so many of the people and their stories.
Right. We're going to take a short break. Then we'll be back with Marlena Vaccaro and Sara Petitt after the following message. Welcome back to One to One. I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm talking with Marlena Vaccaro, Artistic Director and Curator of the Carter Burden Gallery, and photographer Sara Petitt, who shows at the gallery. Have your shows changed over time?
I think the shows have changed. I think the gallery has changed. We try to keep very current in terms of what people are doing. We've figured out ways to show more artists because there are so many artists needing to be shown. So we've literally developed 3 distinct spaces at the gallery so that we can show. We've tripled the number of artists we showed since the first year. Mm-hmm.
Have you had any breakout artists?
I think in some sense all of the artists are breakout artists. We have an artist at this point that will be turning 99, and we're planning on doing her 100th, entering her 100th year exhibition a year from now. So I think that's kind of a breakout.
And she's still working?
She works every day.
Okay.
She works every day.
Tell me about some other artists, some of your other artists.
We take a lot of our artist submissions from artists within the 5 boroughs. Many of them come from Westbeth, which is artist housing in the West Village, which is an amazing place. It's a treasure chest of older artists because Westbeth is in its 40th year. So many of the artists that live there moved in when it opened. Mm-hmm. So they have aged and, were originally young artists and now older professional artists. We've got people that made their living as engineers, philosophers, teachers, many of them, and every day worked. Every day knew that what they wanted to do was make art, but of course, like many artists, had to make a living, support families. As time has gone on and children grow up, people figure out their lives. We've got people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that right now can paint every day, which is the dream. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like as you get older, your opportunities get less, but in some ways, your time opens up. And we've got people in a very luxurious position of being able to paint all the time.
Right. And I imagine you have some artists who did not take it up until they were older.
Most of the artists that we work with have always been
Okay.
artists. There are many people certainly that do get involved in the arts, and it's the most wonderful experience for anybody. But most of the artists we show from early on have always known that's what they did, whether they had the opportunity to show or not.
Right. Now, because the gallery is a nonprofit as compared to other galleries,
Right.
Does that make you, how does that make things different from you? Are you an outsider in the competitive world of art dealing? Are you treated differently in any way?
I think not-for-profit galleries are a little bit different from commercial galleries. I think in an amazing way, I think we have more leeway to be more creative. I think because we're able to seek funding and have been generously supported, we're able to make a lot of our decisions based on creative choices rather than economic ones, although there's always the economic specter.
Right. So you talked earlier about how the gallery grew out of the Carter Burton Center.
Yes.
Tell me about it's a senior center. Tell me about the senior center.
It's a senior services program. We have 8 different locations throughout Manhattan, and the basic issue is quality of life for older adults. I think what we're trying to say throughout the entire agency is getting older is not a disease. Getting older is not a negative thing, and that older people are not the stereotype of of who younger people think they are. There's a fantastic saying that goes, if you've met one 80-year-old, you've only met one 80-year-old. Mm-hmm. And I think it's true. It's true of the people we serve throughout the agency. It's certainly true of the artists.
Now, I know some of the centers, I don't know if all of them, offer art classes.
We do. We have, at our center in East Harlem, we have a location on 109th between 1st and 2nd, the Carter Burton Leonard Covello Center. We have the 3rd floor Macy's Creative Arts Center. Macy's helped us renovate the floor and put the studios together, and it is a state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line creative arts center for older adults. And this is for people who may never have done it before in their life.
Mm-hmm. Now, do they pay for the art classes? Are they free?
They do not. Everything is free of charge. We have a painting studio, a mixed media studio, a sewing, textile, fabric room. We have something very unique, which is an artist in residence studio. We offer 8-week residencies to professional artists who may not have studio space to work in. One of the things in New York that goes first is that extra space to work. So we interview and recruit artists that are older, have been professionals. They work for 8 weeks, and we invite the members of the program to come in and get to know them.
Okay. To
understand that making art is a real choice for people, and it inspires the work that they're doing at the center.
Mm-hmm. Now, Sarah, have you had any connection to the center? Do you go there? Have you exhibited there? Have you taught there?
Well, I've done various outreach things that are a result of the Carter Burton Center. Can I mention the School of Autism?
Sure.
I'm teaching twice a week now for a period of 2 months with students at the New York Charter School for Autism. And these are children that range from maybe 7 or 8 years old through their teens. And it's been an incredible experience for me. This is the 2nd time I've done it. And at the end of this, we have a show of the students' work.
Is this painting or drawing?
I try to have them do all kinds of things.
Okay.
They only concentrate for a short period of time, so they're 15-minute to half-hour segments, but I try to do something different each time. So sometimes they might do still lifes, they might do portraits of each other or myself, collages. I wanted to mention one thing very quickly, which when my daughter was very young, about 5 or 6 years old, I took her to MoMA to see a Matisse show of the jazz cutouts. And I said to her, do you think an older or young person did these? And she said, oh, a very young person. And I said, well, that isn't true. They were in their 80s when they did these. And one of the important things is that when you walk into the Carter Burton Gallery, you would not say, oh, these are dated older paintings. These are paintings that look like any contemporary commercial gallery because there's no age on vision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I would think that doing artwork, whether it's painting or sketching or sculpture or photography, would be a wonderful pastime for older people. You know, it doesn't necessarily require a whole lot of heavy physical activity, but it's very, very stimulating in a lot of other ways.
Well, I'm taking a class in watercolor painting. I've never done that. I've always painted in gouaches. And the people who are in the class have never painted before, and they're having a wonderful time. It's like watching kids in a sandbox, you know. And for me, I come to it a little differently because my expectations are, you know, more professional because I've been an artist. But they come to it with more freedom because they haven't done this before.
Right.
And I imagine you would recommend taking up art for an older person who is retired or whatever.
Absolutely. I think learning anything new is the key to really keeping your mind youthful and alive. I hate to use the word useful because there's nothing wrong with being older.
Right.
Right.
Marlena, tell me about the interaction. How does the gallery interact with the center?
Well, it's a program of the Carter Burton Center, so it's one of 8 programs. The members of all of our programs are always welcomed at the gallery. We have artist talkbacks where people will come and get to know the artists and the work. We try to make all of our services available. Of course, obviously, our artists are older. So if there's anything we can do outside of the art world that is helpful with all of the expertise the Burton Center has, we do that, certainly.
Now, what's your background, and how did you come to the gallery?
My background's in the arts. I am a painter myself. I've run galleries throughout my life. But about 17 years ago, I began working, like so many artists, in a day job at the Carter Burton Center, running several of their other programs. And the gallery came about through a strange mixture of opportunities that, with amazing vision, the agency saw paralleled the concepts and missions of the center. And we began it, as Sara said, in a small space. We had merged with another small not-for-profit, saw the quality and the value of what we were doing, not only for the people that were showing, but for the art world, to say, take a look. Everything's not what you think it is. And then just kept believing that we could be in a more highly trafficked, higher profile space. We had the full support of our board of directors, and here we are in, I think, one of the most beautiful spaces, certainly in our building, and there are 20 other galleries in the building.
So what's coming up at the gallery?
We have an opening this Thursday, in fact, and again, every 4 weeks we have an opening, and we are showing collages by an artist named Ellen Wallenstein. We are showing on the wall, which is this extra additional space, a painter from Pratt named Mike Phelan. And in the room, we have a very interesting, in the main gallery, a mother and daughter show.
Ah, okay.
Sheila Schwid, who is a woman in her late 80s, and her daughter Rivka, who is also a painter. We've never done that before, so we think it's going to be a very interesting and fun show.
And anybody can come to the opening?
Everybody should come.
Everybody should come.
Absolutely everyone should come.
Everybody should come. And
6 to 8 on Thursday, the 19th.
And tell us your address?
We're at 548 West 28th, which is between 10th and 11th on the 5th floor.
Okay. And what are some of we have about 2 minutes left, what are some of your goals and hopes for the gallery going forward?
Yeah, we want to stay vital. We want to keep showing artists that, quite honestly, no one else is going to show, in part, certainly age. And I don't want to make it sound like every artist gets a show if they're not 60. It's hard to get a show anywhere in New York. 60 just adds 40 additional years of trouble onto it.
Right.
But, you know, our purpose is to keep going at it, to keep saying people are vibrant and vital throughout their lives, and that what you do and who you are is what you always are. It doesn't change when you hit a number.
Right. And Sara, you do photography, you do other kinds of artwork as well?
Yes, I've done photographs and collage constructions in boxes. I feel a desire to start to paint again. I didn't do it for a long time because it was associated in my mind with my commercial designs. But now I feel I want to do that. And knowing that whatever I try, I am assured if the work is good and quality of having a place to show it is an incredible feeling for me.
I can imagine. And I'm sure you're going to keep on working at your artwork.
As long as these hands can move.
We're out of time. I want to thank Marlena Vaccaro and Sara Petitt for joining me today. For more information on the Carter Burden Gallery, you can go to www.carterburdengallery.org. And for the Carter Burden Center for the Aging, you can go to carterburdencenter.org. The gallery, again, located at 548 West 28th Street, is in the heart of Chelsea. It's open Tuesdays through Saturdays. For the City University of New York and One to One, I'm Cheryl McCarthy. If there are any people you'd like to hear from or topics you'd like us to explore, please let us know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.